Hello again, everyone. This is Brandon with Implementation Specialists. Thank you again for joining our webinar today with Key2Act on the newest features in Schedule. Before I hand it over to our guest presenter here, Laura Bolsba, I wanted to let you know that if you do have questions throughout today's webinar, please don't hesitate to put those in the question panel or chat window, and we will make sure at the end of today's webinar that we get those addressed for you here today. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Laura.
Thanks, Brandon. Hi, everybody. My name, as Brandon mentioned, is Laura Balsba, and I'm a product specialist at Key2Act. And today we're going to be talking about Schedule. So before we get started, I just want to review the items that we're going to be discussing. So first, we'll just talk about navigating Schedule, just to make sure everybody's familiar with how to get around in the product. We'll also talk about the appointment wizard, email communications, the customer hub, and then our mapping features. So let's go ahead and get right into the product. So we're going to start with some basic navigation. So first, let's look at this schedule section in the middle of the window, where we're going to see all scheduled appointments. So right now, I am showing the timeline view. That means that the times are listed across the top and the technicians are listed down the left-hand side. So these are all appointments that are currently part of the technician's calendar for today. We also have a couple different views available, a daily view. So this is showing the technicians across the top and the times down the left-hand side. You could also look at a weekly view, where it will show you the different days of the week up here, and then kind of, you can see right here, it's pretty narrow, but the different technicians across the top and the time listed along the left-hand side. So you have some different views to work with. So I'm going to go back to my timeline view. So when you first log in, it's going to default to the current date, but you can use the arrows here to navigate forward or backward in the schedule. You could also use the calendar over here to select a date that you want to look at. And then if you do happen to go forward or be on a different date, you can always choose the Today button to quickly get back to the current date. So that's this middle section of the window, and you can drag and drop in here, and there's other actions that you can do, which we'll talk about in a little bit. In the bottom portion of the window, so I'm going to move this up a little bit, is the unscheduled appointments. So you're going to see anything that is created, the service call has been created but not yet assigned or not yet scheduled to a technician. And from this area, you can easily drag and drop something from this unscheduled appointment section up to the calendar for a particular person, which we're also going to go through in a little bit as well. So we've got our schedule in the middle, unscheduled appointments over here, and then on the left-hand side, you're going to see the resources section. And you can see by these bars here that all of these sections can be minimized or expanded, by using those lines here. You'll get the double arrow, and you can expand or shrink a specific area or close it. So if you want to just full screen view of the schedule, you can actually close certain sections as well. So the resources section on the left-hand side is just going to show you all of the technicians that you're currently displaying. And if I were to unmark somebody, let's say Alan, then his name would come off the schedule in here. So just some flexibility there in which resources you're actually seeing. So the first functionality piece that we're going to look at is the appointment wizard. So with the appointment wizard, you can create single and recurring service appointments, technician activities, and job appointments. And this is a great feature because you can easily schedule appointments that span multiple days. So I'm going to show you how to create these multi-day service appointments. So let's say that Bill is going to need a few days to complete the installation and repairs of the equipment at this particular customer at Molded Plastics. So we're going to go ahead and create a multi-day service appointment. So you can access the appointment wizard just by right-clicking on any resource or any appointment activity. So I'm going to right-click and then choose Appointment Wizard. So I'll go ahead and create a new appointment for Bill, and I'm going to do it for a specific technician, but otherwise you can create appointments for technician teams, service areas, or all of these things. So I'm going to choose a service appointment. I'm going to add some appointments to an existing service call. So the service call field is enabled since I selected service call. And I'm going to choose the molded plastics service call. Bill is going to be my resource. And then I can just type in a description. And when I selected Bill, if you didn't notice, I'm going to go back in here, you could multi-select. So if there's multiple people working on this service appointment, you can actually multi-select in here. I'm just going to have the appointment status be open for now. And it is going to start tomorrow because I already have an appointment scheduled for him for today. So it's going to start tomorrow. And for the time, it's going to be 7 a.m. And then the end date, we're going to go through the 10th. Now it's going to be 8 hours a day, but I'm going to skip Saturdays and Sundays because this does fall over a weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and tab through here. A little bit of trouble displaying my screen here, so I'm trying to get down to the create section. Oops. See if I can scroll down. I can't scroll down here. Yeah, that's not working either. So because of the screen size that I'm on here, I can't get down to that create button. But there's a create button at the bottom of this window that will allow you to create the multi-day appointment. So let me go ahead and close this. Move this over here. And go back in here. Sorry about that, guys. And we're back. Okay, so there is, you can easily create multi-day appointments with this. It's just my screen resolution for this particular screen size right now. That's why I couldn't get to the create button at the bottom there. But let's take a couple look at some of the other features while we're on the schedule window. So I'm going to try to move a service call that is assigned to Bart to another resource. So a nice functionality in here is that you can set certain statuses that can't be moved. So for example, if you know that somebody's en route to a different appointment, then you cannot move the service call. So if I try and move this appointment from Bart, you'll see that it has an unschedulable status. So I have en route marked. You could mark dispatch. So if a technician has already been dispatched to a specific site, you can say that it cannot be moved. So it's an unschedulable status. You might want to do the same thing with calls that are completed, obviously cannot be moved to somebody else. But en route is a good one, dispatched is a good one. So there are certain events where you can say that the call can now not be moved to another resource. Another feature that I want to show you while we're on this page, so I'm just going to click OK here, is over-allocation. So I'm going to take a call and I'm going to move it so you'll see the drag and drop feature. So let me just scroll down here. To Andy. So I'm going to move a call from down here, this ACL Laboratories. I'm going to move that to Andy at 2:30. can say okay. And you'll see that it gives you a warning, and it also shows you that he's over allocated by this highlighted area right here. So I have scheduled him outside his shift, therefore he's over allocated. So it's like a visual indicator as well as the warning message that you're scheduling somebody outside of their shift. So I'm going to go ahead and unschedule that, and that'll move it back down to the unscheduled appointment section. You also have access from within Schedule to a lot of different information without having to go back into GP. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click on one of these appointments and open the service call. So right from within Schedule, you can see things like the timestamps. So if you have guaranteed response times, you'll be able to see when the call was opened, dispatched, whatever you're timestamping, you'll be able to see that information. You can also see all the tasks related to this service call and appointment. So there's 2 pieces of equipment that they're working on and doing multiple tasks. You can see any notes for this service call, so access to the building, which is also passed through to Mobile Tech. You can see attachments and then open those attachments right from here. So if there's, in this example, it's a quoted service call, and then you would be able to open the quote to answer any questions, figure out what the quote is for. And then you have related appointments. So in this case, there are 2 people working on this service call, so there's 2 appointments. Andrew is done with his part of the job, and Chester is still working on his. So you can also see related appointments just by opening up that service call. The other thing that you can do right from the appointment is if you right-click, you can go straight to customer or location details. That's going to open up our customer hub, which will show you all the information. And we're going to take a little bit of closer look at that in just a few minutes as well. So to talk a little bit more about the bottom portion of the window, the unscheduled appointments. As I said earlier, these are all unscheduled or unassigned. Unscheduled means that it's assigned to a resource. However, it just hasn't been given a time slot yet. Unassigned means it doesn't have a resource or a time slot. So you can filter or go between these, unassigned or unscheduled. Okay. And then this is the clear. So, and down here, you can click on any of the column headings and sort by these, because you're probably going to have a lot more than 4. I have a limited amount in here. And you can also filter. So if I just start typing in here, it's going to filter down to that particular call type. Let's go ahead and clear that. The other thing that you can do is if I right click on any of these unassigned calls, I can go ahead and find that on the map. So what it's going to do is it's going to show me that particular appointment on the map, and then you might be able to see, okay, Bill looks like he's closest to this particular location, so maybe I'm going to give that call to him, depending on his schedule. So you can quickly get to the map from the unassigned appointments. Minimize that. On the left-hand side then, let's take a look at this resources section. I'm going to expand it just a little bit just for this demonstration. You can create filters in here. So right now I'm filtered to only show the commercial team. So for example, I might be a dispatcher that works in a certain service area, so you might want to be able to filter by service area or branch if you're using global filtering. And what happens is if I change this to the East service area, I still have my commercial team filter on. So it's anybody that's in the East service area that's part of the commercial team. But you'll see my schedule is blank. If you click at the top here, it will mark every single resource that applies to those filters. Otherwise, you can say, I only want to see Andrew and Alan, and then it will update the schedule view for you. So I'm going to go ahead and unmark East and go back to my commercial team and mark everybody. The other thing you can do over here is you can sort by name, by resource ID. You could also just start typing in Alan here, and it'll filter the list. You can also get to information about each technician. So if I double click on Alan, I will be able to see what branch he belongs to, what skill set he has, what shifts he works, the service area that he is part of, and his inventory site. So where he can pull inventory from when he's using mobile tech. The last thing I want to show you as far as this schedule window is concerned before we move on to email communications is some reports. So we do have a PDF here of your current schedule. So whatever is currently displaying here in this schedule window, not the unassigned or the resources section, will be printed when I choose this. So it's a PDF. It's kind of a screenshot of what you're currently looking at. So that's one report. Then if you right-click on any resource, you would be able to print their schedule. So if I right-click and say Schedule Resource Report, it will open Alan's schedule for me for today. So if your technicians come in the morning before they go out to do work, you could have these printed for them if they needed them. If I go back to Schedule and right-click again, there is the Report Wizard, which just gives you some more flexibility on this schedule report. You can choose to run the report for a specific team, service area, or branch, and also choose different date ranges. Or you can just individually select technicians over here. So now I'm going to move on to the email communications. So email communications allows you to send customers and technicians email alerts right from within schedule. So there's two ways to do this. One is simple text emails that use event triggers that are included with schedule. The other is through advanced communications, which is an add-on product that will send HTML email messages. So I'm going to show you both ways since I have advanced scheduling installed here as well, or advanced communications, excuse me. But first, we're going to talk about the event triggers that are out of the box. So I'm going to take an unscheduled appointment, and I'm going to move it to Carol. So I'm going to go down here and find this one for Mr. Ed Cycle Sales, and I'm going to assign that to Carol at 1:30 here. So I'm simply taking an unscheduled appointment and moving it to a resource. And we'll give it a minute to bring the emails in. So when you drag and drop something from one section to another, you will see the emails go through. So scheduling a resource will do that. The other way is you can actually just right-click on any particular call and click Notify Customer, and that will also trigger an email to be sent. One of the things to be aware of is that if you're using this functionality, so let me go into service here, and I'm going to look up Mr. Ed Cycle Sales. Oops. And look at this call. You have to have an email assigned to the service call, and that will actually then send an email to this particular customer when a change is made to the appointment. So you can either click Notify Customer, or certain things like dragging and dropping from unscheduled to assigned, or another way would be moving it from one resource to another. That can also trigger emails to be produced to the customer. You can also have emails go to the technician as well, as long as the technician is set up with an email address. Okay. Oh, let's go back into schedule. So now let's go into the Customer Hub. So the Customer Hub allows you access to all of the customers and locations. So, and I can search in here. So if I'm looking for a particular customer, I'm going to go ahead and type in something up here, and then I can view that customer. And I can see location information, service calls, history, all of the equipment that's at that location, the contacts, if they have any maintenance contracts, and also if they are assigned to any jobs within job cost. You can create new customers from here and new locations and service calls. So if you right-click anywhere up at the top here, you'll see that you can create a new customer. And then once that customer is created, you could start creating locations for that customer. And then you can also create new service calls. Another piece of functionality that exists within Dynamics GP with service is the ability to prevent calls from being created if the customer has a receivable status of, over 60 days. So if I go to one of my customers, Olson Safety, let's go ahead and search for that one. And if I try to create a new service call for that account, it's going to tell me that the stop and go light is red. Do I still want to create a service call? So I'm just going to say no in this case. But if you scroll down here a little bit on this customer, you'll see that the stop sign is showing here. Otherwise, you would see green or yellow as well. It just depends on your buckets for receivables aging and how you have the parameters set up for that receivable status, whether you get a warning or whether people cannot create a service call for people that have a red light. Okay. So now let's go on to the mapping feature. So I'm going to minimize or go over to my map and talk a little bit about this map. So in the map that we're looking at, a couple things. The trucks on the map represent each technician and would show their current location. So when I have my system set up that when the appointment status is changed to arrived, that the truck is sitting at the location of the service call. So for example, Chet is not anywhere according to this map because he either hasn't arrived or he doesn't have any appointments right now. He's just at his home location. These purple icons here indicate an unassigned appointment. So we have 3 of these purple icons. If we go back to schedule, so let me just minimize the map. If you recall, we do have 3, probably have 2 unassigned appointments now. So if I refresh my map, I'll see that. But we have 1 unscheduled appointment, so that's for Andrew, and then 2 unassigned. Let's go back into our map, refresh that, and now we just have the 2. Okay, so these are showing unassigned appointments. The buildings here, these represent appointments that have been assigned to a technician with a start and date time. So they just haven't arrived at this location yet. So if I double click on this, you'll see that Carol is assigned to this particular call. They just haven't arrived here yet. Same thing with this one. Charles has been assigned to this call, but he has just not arrived yet. My system, again, is set up so that the truck moves when the technician has actually arrived at that location. So there's one more symbol that I wanted to show you that you might see on this particular map. So you just make sure it's Andrew. So Andrew is assigned to this service call, but it hasn't been put on his calendar yet. So if I go to the map view and I say select Andrew for routing, this right here is showing me an appointment that is assigned to a technician but not put on his schedule yet. And if I open that, you'll see what particular account that's for and where that is. Okay, so that's just another icon that you would see, but it's only going to be shown when you select somebody for routing if they have any assigned appointments that aren't scheduled yet. Okay, so now let me show you how the arrived feature works. So if I go into one of these appointments, let's see. Let's go down here a little bit further. And I say set status to arrived. And I go back into my map. And I refresh. Chet has now moved. He was sitting up here somewhere, but now he is down here. So as long as the technicians are updating their statuses through mobile tech that they've arrived on site or whatever your trigger is, they will actually move on the map so you can easily see where the technician is currently. So I just have a couple more minutes left, so I wanted to show you our routing feature. So I'm going to do Alan for routing. So I'm going to select Alan up here. So it's going to show me where he's going to start, and then all of the appointments that he's scheduled. I can also say that he's going to end at the office location. So I can add the end location, which is basically his home location. Every technician gets assigned a home base, whether it actually be their home address or the office, if they're going to come into the office before they go out and do their work for the day. The other thing that you could add to their schedule is a break. So you set up how long the break should be in the setup of schedule. So I can add a break as well, and then schedule it anytime throughout the day. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Process Route, and I can say Route Current List. So that will route everything in the order which it's displayed here. Okay, and right away you're going to see that he's over allocated because that's the pink items here. So it looks like based on the schedule, he's going, if we do it in order of how I have it on the schedule window, he's going from A over to B, then over here, then back here, D, E. So you could do something different. You can say optimize the current list. And that will actually set up his schedule with the best route. And you can see now he is no longer over allocated. So in the original way I had his route, he would have been over, his shift, which was, I think it ends at 6 or 7. So this way you can choose to optimize the route and will give the technician or you the best route for that technician. Okay. And this lunch break can be moved anywhere within the schedule. So that was adding this lunch break here. And then again, adding this end location. Make sure that they start and end at the same point. Okay, so that is the content that I had for today. So I guess we'll open it up for questions, Brandon, if there are any.
Yes, thank you very much, Laura. There was just one question that came in, and their question was, what versions of signature do you have to be on to use schedule?
Let me email that because I'm pretty sure that's probably in the README, so I will get that out.
Okay, perfect.
And we can send it. Can we send that to everybody that was on the call?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
if you just send that to me, I will make sure that that gets on there.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. I don't see any other questions in the chat window or questions pane.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for who joined the webinar today. Laura, really appreciate your presentation. There's certainly a lot of great functionality and features in the schedule product. So if anyone has any questions, please let us know, and we will make sure that we follow up with the recording. And actually, Laura?
Yes, I'm still here.
Came in. Okay. First one, we're looking to use this for scheduling jobs more than service. Jobs takes 1 to 2 weeks. Would this be a good fit?
Yeah, because, yep, you can schedule them over multiple days. Yeah, because jobs usually last, like with that, and it's just my screen resolution. I wish I could, let me try again. But when you do that appointment wizard, you can schedule over multiple days, which that's the nice thing about it, because job appointments, like I did, like you could do it for a 2-week period, 8 hours every day, and you can do it for a technician for a job. and then you can see exactly where that particular tech is. So yes, it is just as good of a fit for job cost as well.
Perfect. Great. Another one here. Would mobile tech be a good fit with this?
Yes, that you know, with mobile tech is key because when you know the updates that I showed, like the technician arrived on site, then you can see that his truck moved. A lot of that does, you know, some of that does rely on the technicians communicating with you. So it's great when they have mobile tech because they will be updating their appointment statuses as they arrive. A lot of people put rules into place when their technicians, you know, when they own mobile tech, that when the technicians arrive on site, they at least clock in or change the appointment status to arrived so that dispatchers can easily see without having to constantly call or text or, you know, email, whatever the communication is now, to find out where the technician is. It's a wonderful fit with mobile tech.
Great, perfect. And then just one more here. Is it easy to move the start date for a 2-week job? Example, drag and drop the job.
You know, let me test that one out. So move the start date of the job. So you've scheduled like a multi-day job, and I can follow up with this individual offline, Brandon, because I want to see if it shifts the whole job appointment. I think it depends on how it's scheduled. If it was like a multi-day versus I scheduled the job for one day for Monday, then I did a different appointment for Tuesday, different appointment for Wednesday, etc.
Okay, very, very good. We'll certainly do that with you, Jesse.
Yeah, I'll definitely follow up and make sure I understand the question before I go spouting off on what.
So, very, very good. We are over our allotted time. Some really good questions there, and we will be sure to follow up with you individually to make sure we get those addressed for you. So with that, thank you very much for everyone who joined us today, and we'll talk to everyone again soon. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.